6-week arm sculpting workout. We have our dumbbells to our side. I want you to bring them to your hips, and then we're gently rocking back into our down position. Make sure our feet are set and our shoulders are pulled back into the ground. Elbows are going to be about 45 degrees from my side, so we don't want them out here, nor do we want them right next to our rib cage. We want to get both our shoulders, our triceps, and our chest involved. We're pressing up. First couple of reps, it may feel difficult to hold the weight overhead. Hold it here so you get stability and you just kind of find your balance. Start getting all those muscles recruited. Slow, controlled on the way down. Arms make contact with the ground. We're pausing for a split second, and then we're moving right back up. Slow, controlled on the way down. This is when your muscles get the majority of the work. Fast on the way up. Slow, controlled, breathing in. Exhale on the way up. Slow, controlled, and then finish your reps. When you're done, don't just slam the weights to the ground. Bring your elbows back down to the ground, and then let the weights fall to your side. We're going to start off from our hands and our toes, and I'll show you ways we can modify it so that we can slowly progress if we're not quite there to bodyweight push-ups just yet. So for starters, hands just outside of our shoulders, up on our toes, and our core is nice and tight so our whole body moves as one. Chest comes down to the ground, not relaxing, but still keeping myself nice and tight, and then I'm pushing back up to the top. If this is difficult, let's drop down to the knees. Same motion, same full range, chest to the ground. If we're still working from the knees and you feel like that's maybe a little bit too difficult for the rep ranges that we have in the program, easy solution, we can use a chair or something at home that takes our body a little bit away from the ground so that we're just not lifting as much body weight. You can use staircase at home, you can use the wall where we just lean up against it. But what we want to do is just make sure that our chest touches to our point so we're going full range, and then we're pressing up from here. A chair or box should suffice to allow you to hit the rep ranges that we have in the initial part of the program, and then you can progress down from the knees and then to the toes eventually. So we're going to isolate the back of the arms. We're going to set ourselves up, feet about hip width apart, not very wide. And what we're doing is we're hinging over at the waist so that our hips are taking most of our weight. You shouldn't feel this in the back. If you feel in the back, you may have your legs a little bit too straight or the weight may be a little too heavy. So play around with that. Once I get into my hinge position, elbows are locked into my side where they will remain, and then I'm kicking back my arms to an extended position and back down. I'm not using my momentum to swing these back. I really want to control the weight, get to my lockout position, squeeze, and then slowly come down. My head is staring about 4 feet in front. I'm not staring up at the wall in front of me, nor is my chin tucked staring down at my toes. I want to keep it in line with my spine. All right? The weight's going to determine if this is a proper amount to use for your set. If you don't have any weights at home, simply clench your fists, pull those arms back, contract the triceps at the back, and you'll get enough of the tension back there to really get a good workout in. Slow, controlled, squeeze at the back, and it'll do exactly what we want it to. Chair dips is going to do a great job of isolating our chest, our upper chest, and our back of our triceps. At home, you can use a chair, you can use the staircase, anything that allows you to sit your hips off the side and get our arms to about 90 degrees. The setup for this, palms, medial part of your hand is going to be on the ledge. That's where you're going to apply most of the force through your arms. Pushing my hips off to the side so that my tension is now on my shoulders, and using both my arms and my legs to support my body. I'm bringing myself down to a 90 degrees until you feel a good stretch, and then you're bringing yourself back up to full extension. I'm using my legs to help support myself so my arms aren't doing all of the work. If you feel strong in this position and using your legs is too easy, bring those legs out further away from you. Now you limit your base of support. Now your arms have to lift more of your body weight. You can do the same thing by lifting your legs. But if this is challenging, feel free to use your legs. As you progress through the program, start to move your legs further away from yourself for an extra bit of challenge. Hands are going to start off right next to our side, palms in a neutral grip position. We're going to use one dumbbell at a time. As I bring that arm up, I'm going to rotate my palm so the palm is moving up into my head, and then I'm contracting, keeping my bicep nice and tight at the top, slow and controlled on the way down. Alternating which arm I'm using, slow and controlled on the way down. The big thing to consider is I do not want to use momentum here. I want to control the weight the entire time. The slower that I'm moving these weights, the more work that my arms are actually doing, called time under tension. So allow yourself to spend as much time under tension here as you can so that you guys can get really good concentration into the biceps. We'll have a similar setup that we had for our tricep kickbacks. Starting off with my feet about hip width apart. I'm going into my hinge position, trying to load most of my weight through my glutes and my hamstrings. Arms nice and long out in front. I want those arms right underneath of my shoulders. I'm not pulling them back, I don't want them forward. Just gently let them hang here for just a second. We're gonna pull both dumbbells up at the same time. And when I pull up, I want to pull actually up and towards my hips. So not into my armpits here, which would be more of a bicep movement. We're trying to activate a little bit more of our lats and our shoulders and our delts. So it's a really big movement, which hits a lot of our big back muscles. But in order to hit our lats, we want to follow kind of the path of that muscle, which runs all the way from our top of our shoulder down to the bottom of our lower back. So we're pulling back into the hip, and we're doing it with both dumbbells. Back into the hip, and you're gonna feel that squeeze, and you're gonna feel that right through the back of our arms. We're gonna keep our elbows locked into our side. Hands are gonna stay in this neutral position, so there's no rotation at the palm as the weight comes up and as I'm coming back down. All I want you to avoid is momentum in swings. Swings is just using your body to help move the weight. I want our biceps isolated, slow control on the way up, slow control on the way down. Time under tension is our focus, so you feel like great burn. Starting off, hands right by our side, pull the shoulders back, arms are coming all the way out, controlled on the way down. Don't let gravity pull those weights down so they come down quickly, like so. Bring it up and slowly back down, moving both hands at the same time. You can have a slight bend at the elbow. I just don't want it to make up the majority of your movement, so the weights stay nice and close. Allow those arms to get long, so the emphasis is more on that muscle through the shoulder. Nice and controlled. Good luck. Hands are gonna come close together, form the shape of a diamond. We're isolating the outside of our triceps, leaving our chest alone. This is gonna be a challenging one, so we may need to regress it, but the setup will be the same as a normal push-up. However, the hands are closer together in our diamond. I'm aiming for my chest to come right between that setup with the hand, and I'm pressing right back up. Slow control on the way down, elbows flared, press right back up. The next modification is dropping down to your knees. Same idea, core nice and tight, all the way down, all the way up. If we need to modify our depth, come down halfway, come back up. The next option is bringing ourselves back up to our staircase or using a chair. Hands nice and close, bringing ourselves down to the chest and driving right back up. Whichever modification you choose, just make sure those last couple of sets or last couple of reps are challenging. So we're isolating the back of our arms from the down position. Your setup will be the same as your floor press. Bring those weights from your hips to the ground. And then from here, you're going to straighten your arms out overhead. Now, skull crushers is exactly what it sounds like. We're bringing these weights close down to my temples, to the outside of my head. Don't bring them towards your head for obvious reasons. Bring them to the outside. Elbows stay locked out at the top. So there's very little movement through my elbows and my arms. Everything is coming from bending at the elbow and then extending into that lockout position up top. Try not to allow the weights to touch the ground or rest. And also try not to let your elbows flare out to the side. Try to keep them into that narrow position to isolate the tricep. Once we're finished, arms back down to the ground. We'll have a similar setup that we had for our tricep kickbacks. Starting off with my feet about hip width apart. I'm going into my hinge position, trying to load most of my weight through my glutes and my hamstrings. Arms nice and long out in front. I want those arms right underneath of my shoulders. I'm not pulling them back. I don't want them forward. Just gently let them hang here for just a second. We're gonna pull both dumbbells up at the same time. And when I pull up, I wanna pull actually up and towards my hips. So not into my armpits here, which would be more of a bicep movement. We're trying to activate a little bit more of our lats and our shoulders and our delts. So it's a really big movement, which hits a lot of our big back muscles. But in order to hit our lats, we want to follow kind of the path of that muscle, which runs all the way from our top of our shoulder down to the bottom of our lower back. So we're pulling back into the hip, and we're doing it with both dumbbells. Back into the hip, and you're going to feel that squeeze, and you're going to feel that right through the back of our arms. They're going to do a great job of isolating our lats, our triceps, and a little bit of our pecs, if you believe it. We're going to use our dumbbell, lower ourselves down to the ground, and using both hands interlaced around one of our dumbbells so that your fingers and your palms have complete control. We're going to allow the dumbbell to fall over our head, still using straight arms. Control our rope, not allowing it to touch the floor, and then bring it right up to about your forehead so that the weight is always under the tension of our lats. If we bring it up any higher, now gravity is taking control. I'm no longer active through my lats, and I don't get any work done. So our goal is to keep our lats under tension. We're going to start with our dumbbells out to the side at 90 degrees. You're going to keep those elbows nice and high as you bring them together. You don't have to make contact with the dumbbells, but we're bringing it out in front, not allowing those shoulders to drop. Slowly bringing it back out to 90 degrees, and then bringing it overhead in a dumbbell shoulder press. Slowly down, back into 90 degrees, bringing them forward, back out, press overhead. If the weight is too heavy or we have any issues with a full lockout position, stop just before full lockout with the arms overhead. Front deltoid raises. We're gonna isolate the front of our shoulders, keeping the arms in neutral grip. Lock those shoulders in, core nice and tight. Bring those dumbbells up in front, and then controlled on the way back down. Drive it right back up. Slow, controlled on the way back down. It's gonna isolate our bicep as well as our forearms. So you may need a little bit lighter weight than we've done for prior dumbbell bicep workouts. So for our setup, arms to the side. We're going to bring the dumbbells up slightly beyond 90 degrees. From here, we are internally rotating both dumbbells and slowly bringing them back down to the side so you can see where the challenge part sets in. Again, from the side, driving those dumbbells up, rotate the hands, and then moving down into a reverse bicep curl. For our dumbbell isolation curl, let's find a spot around the house where we can sit and have space off the ledge. We're gonna use one arm at a time. I'm gonna take my elbow and I'm going to lock it into my thigh. My elbow is not gonna move throughout the entirety of the movement. What it's gonna allow me to do is really isolate this bicep so that I can concentrate simply on this muscle and nothing else. When I take this elbow away, I can use a little bit more of my shoulder. And so that's what we're working against here, is forcing the arm to do the majority of the work and directly against gravity. All the way up, never fully taking it out of full tension, which would be right up against my body. Also, never relaxing and releasing at the bottom of the repetition. Always stay under tension so that you can maximize the benefits of this movement. We're gonna lie on the ground, dumbbells in hand. The dumbbells are gonna remain in contact for the duration of the movement. This one is a little bit different because it is not intuitive to the amount of pressure I'm putting into the dumbbells. As I'm pressing up, I'm not just simply keeping the dumbbells together. What I'm actually doing, flaring these elbows out at the bottom. As I drive up, I'm still pressing in at the top here. When I press in, you're contracting your pecs at the top here, so it almost feels like a dumbbell fly. And I'm keeping that pressure engaged as the dumbbells come back down into my chest. So what happens is you're actually fatiguing the pecs a lot more than simply just pressing the dumbbells up and coming back down, which would isolate a little bit more of our triceps. So elbows flared at the top, pressing, so I'm nice and engaged here. It isn't easy. As I come down, still pressing together. This will help isolate more of the anterior of our pec. We're gonna use one dumbbell. Hand position will be the same as with your dumbbell lat pull over. Dumbbell will come over our head. We're gonna have a slight tilt forward. I'm not tucking my chin into my chest, but I'm just slightly leaning forward at my waist. The dumbbell is gonna come down behind the head with my elbows flared out to the side here, not pointed forward. Elbows flared out. I'm gonna extend those arms all the way to the top, contracting the muscle at the top, slow controlled on the way down so that I feel the lengthening of the muscle, and back up. We're gonna bring our hands shoulder width apart, nothing closer than that. So as our going down to the bottom of our push-up, our elbows are gonna stay nice and tight, helps isolate a little bit more of the triceps. It'll still work a little bit of our chest, but we use a little bit more arms in this variation. So hands nice and close, still bringing my whole body down as one, and driving up to the top. Slow, controlled, drive up. If I need to modify, let's bring it down to the knees. Same idea, my core is still nice and engaged. Again, like every other push-up variation, if we need to, let's bring ourselves up from the ground. Slow control on the way down, and then right back up. None of this is done for speed. It doesn't matter how fast you can bounce back up. Let's get the most out of this movement by really forcing ourselves to move properly through them. Key to this movement is still isolating the arms. We're combining biceps and triceps, so it's gonna be a tough one to finish it. Our bicep curl, we're gonna pull ourselves all the way up and then combine it into our overhead press position. Slow controlled on the way back down, basically just doing the same movement in reverse. As it brings to my side, hands are in a neutral position. Drive it all the way up, feel through the bicep, and then I'm flipping it over into my overhead press. Right back down, palms forward again. So we're keeping our arms nice and close to us as we hinge back, keeping the elbows nice and close. Feet are gonna be engaged. I'm locking those shoulders into the ground. Elbows locked into my side. I'm keeping my arms in this neutral position so that I'm isolating a little bit more of my triceps today. Coming down, pausing at the bottom, and then driving right back up. Big deep breath in through my nose, exhale at the top. After I finish my 12 repetitions, we're then moving into the dumbbell flies. You have 10 seconds of rest. In my dumbbell flies, now I'm moving those arms out to the side with a slight bend in my elbow, so I feel a stretch right through the chest. Coming together, and I'm squeezing. I'm not relaxing at the top. I'm staying active in this movement. Again, coming out, so I feel that tension and the stretch right through my pecs. Coming together, and I'm squeezing at the top. So for our alternating gorilla row, you're gonna set yourself up nice and wide, good base support. Think about the gorilla in the zoo. We're gonna keep our chests up nice and tight as well. So the dumbbells are gonna be slightly off of the ground. I'm gonna be in my hinge position with a nice tall chest. We're alternating, bringing that dumbbell up and into our body. So we're kind of pulling it both away from the ground and then into our body and back down. Alternating back and forth, really focusing on the squeeze as the dumbbell comes into my body and back down. A great one for your full core, as well as our upper body pull. Next movement we're gonna swing into is our rear delt flies. Feet are coming closer together. We're gonna bend forward just like we did in a lot of our other movements, allowing those arms to come out to the side, really squeezing our shoulder blades together nice and tight, limiting the amount of bend in our arm. If you do notice that you do need to use a lot of elbow bend, more than likely the weights might be a little too heavy for us. So bring ourselves back down a couple of pounds. So we're hinging forward. Core is nice and tight. Let's pull those shoulder blades back so we're not loose and disengaged. Pulling back. Slow out to the side, and then control back down. Making sure at the top we are really squeezing those arms together. So our front delt raise is what it's gonna look like. We're gonna isolate a little bit of our pectoral on this one along with our biceps. Palms are forward, core nice and tight. I don't want my back to arch to compensate. So make sure we're using a light enough weight to start so that these movements are fairly easy and that we can feel the muscles that we're trying to engage. Drive it up nice and forward, squeeze together, slow controlled on the way back down. Rest for 10 seconds, then you're moving into your tricep extension. Dumbbell overhead. Allow that dumbbell to get a nice extension so that you're feeling that stretch through the back of the arms, and then we are gently pressing all the way up. and slowly back down. Come up to that top, give a good squeeze to the back of the arms, and slowly back down behind your head. The bent over bicep curl forces us to deal a little bit more with gravity. It also takes us a lot of our leverage out of the equation. So as you can see, my arms are hanging underneath me. From here, I'm locking those elbows in, pulling those biceps up to just beyond 90 degrees, and slowly back down. Very much a full body exercise. My core is nice and tight. I feel it through the back of my hamstrings. This will be a fun, challenging one. Start off light and then work your way up to heavier reps. Rest for 10 seconds, and then we're moving into our superset number 2, which is our reverse grip bicep curl. We're flipping those hands forward. Knuckles are going to be up towards the sky. Same idea. Bringing myself up to just beyond 90 degrees and slowly back down. Challenge yourself. These are going to burn right after those bent over bicep curls. Let's drop down to the knees. Same motion, same full range, chest to the ground. If we're still working from the knees and you feel like that's maybe a little bit too difficult for the rep ranges that we have in the program, easy solution. We can use a chair or something at home that takes our body a little bit away from the ground so that we're just not lifting as much body weight. You can use staircase at home. You can use the wall where we just lean up against it. But what we want to do is just make sure that our chest touches to our points that we're going full range, and then we're pressing up from here. After we finish our eccentric push-ups, we're going to do diamond cutters from our knees. Diamond cutters are an overhead press without any weight. We're working on great range, putting more lactic acid into our triceps, our shoulders. We're doing 15 reps as quickly as we can. Knock these out all the way to the top. Really fight to get some good extension. And then as you can see, I'm alternating arms on every rep.
Save this workout and join us for the 6-week arms workout.